Is everybody okay if I take my mask off? It's awful here. You're not? Okay, I'll put it back on. Yeah, well, you know you have it hanging. Yeah, because you're not going to hear me.
Consulting services related to updating cellular equipment on various projects associated with both the 116th Street and 84th Street water towers. Peter Dave.
So this is our consultant that we have a contracted with. So every time a vendor, could be T-Mobile, Verizon, they use our towers, they have contracts with us. This consultant helps us negotiate pricing, revenue, but also looks at the type of design, what type of communication antennas they are proposing or to rectify on our towers. So we gotta make sure that there's the load bearing requirements, everything that they are putting up is per our signed agreement. So they help us do that and coordinate those services.
I have a question to either Dave or Pete. What do we get per cell phone tower on a water tower? What is that rate nowadays?
Well, right now, there's one contract that we're attempting to renew, and it's approximately $25,000
And that's a year
a year.
per
Seems to be the going rate.
antenna, or whatever, or
Well,
sending.
for the service of that vendor, so they are allowed X number of feet on the tower space as designated. Now, there's ways to get around that, which we're seeing through Mike Brofka and his efforts, where they're trying to maybe piggyback and make that space where they're trying to add more antennas onto each and every one. And now you have the questions or the concern of the load bearing requirement that's putting the weight on the tower. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, 25, 30K.
I have a question. How many do we have on our towers as it stands?
I was going to say 5 different vendors at this time.
5 different vendors? Okay, now if we were looking to do painting or repaint the towers, how does that impact the contract on that? And would those businesses have to pay for removal and reinstallment of them?
So there would be where they have to allow for us to paint in those areas. So that's revenue, so that goes into the water utility, and that's revenue that could be designated for any type of maintenance for towers, buying meters or what have you. So, yep, it's revenue that can be used for that.
Good.
Okay.
Anybody?
No, I'm good.
Okay, but it's been moved for approval.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Yes, Rhodes. Can we use that revenue for anything else? Does it have to go to the water utility? Because I guess why I bring this up is the city of Brookfield uses all of their cell phone tower money for their bike trails.
My understanding, it's revenue created by the water utility, and it's designated for the utility.
Okay,
So,
be interesting to see how Brookfield does it.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Ranky.
these contracts, are they yearly contracts that the businesses
that's a
make
good.
out with the city?
That's a good question. We've had contracts that are, rolled over, but, 10-year contracts, 15-year contracts with these vendors. So what we signed for my time 15 years ago, now the revenue is like, oof, can we escalate that? And it's kind of hard to do, so we have to look at when the contract actually comes, terms expire.
You said that the current price that we get, it doesn't sound like it's very much. Do we look at that?
We do, when the
With other
contract is
communities?
being,
See if we're in the ballpark?
When the contract is becoming expired, yes, we look at that, renegotiating that with that vendor, correct? Yep.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Grisham.
just to go off what Alderwoman Ranky stated, is there a competitive pricing for this per, like municipality?
There is, currently right now, SEH and Mike Bravka, our water system superintendent, is currently in negotiations with Verizon. Verizon is one that's due up to be expired at the end of this year. They are very anxious to renew that lease. However, that's one of the issues that we're currently having is the amount of the contracted rate or revenue that we're receiving with the previous contract. We believe we can increase that to X amount of percent, but now we're in a negotiation mode with Verizon at that time. So we are attempting to increase the revenues for the city.
And my assumption would be, I'm sorry, Tracy.
Go ahead.
My assumption would be that in that contract negotiation, if we're given 10, 15-year contracts, it's not a set price. We're going to be able to
Escalate.
raise that over the period of time or the duration of the contract.
Correct. There's a certain portion that you can have escalators. So if they put in maybe 2 antennas every time that they wish to add an antenna into their designated area, that would be an escalator for X amount of more dollars that they would have to pay the city for that to be installed on our towers.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that, Tracy.
Alderman Stefanski.
So, Dave,
Yep.
since we're in negotiations with Verizon, they're the most expensive charging carrier, can we tell them, hey, you're going to keep the prices up, we get to get more money?
We're currently attempting negotiations with Verizon at this time, but we have to look at what options do they have available for themselves. They can and they have indicated that they have other options other than the city's tower. And it's just at what point in time do you want to roll the dice and potentially lose that type of revenue? Or, do you just want to, I guess, let it play out and see if they do have other options down the line, the next 3 or 6 months. So
But they
it's a
still-
waiting game.
But they still have to use it in the city, right? They still have to put it in the city. So if they go to another place, that would be a private business, you're saying?
They would have to, my understanding is that they would have to find a location either in the city of West Dallas or somewhat near, that they would have the radius of coverage, within this area. But then it would be up to them to have a private installer, to have some type of a tower, and they'll have to construct it. And that'd be at a location, could be maybe in Wauwatosa, West Milwaukee, New Berlin, to have that type of coverage. So they have communicated that to us, that they are willing to do such. So now it's kind of
Okay.
in both parties' hands of how much revenue is reasonable. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay. Correct. As Pete has mentioned, again, Mike Bravka kind of took over the reins with engineering, Chris St. Clair, that was responsible doing this. And he is working closely with SEH. They do have an attorney that has experience in negotiating these and pretty much has a ballpark figure what she's looking at that's competitive, not only for the West Dallas, but what other municipalities are getting for those type of services.
Mr. Chair?
He was first. Alderman Vitale.
That's all right.
Alderman Ranky.
I know this has to do with the water tower. However, do they ever ask if they can use their light poles?
There was discussion, and I can defer to Pete with the small cell requests. Go ahead.
They're gonna, Verizon's gonna put up 75 light poles with little small cell receptors on top, or antennas on top, so definitely, they're gonna be blanketing the city with 75.
On our light poles. That's what I thought.
They're gonna buy us new light poles. That they're gonna install for us, that will have lights on them, but they'll also have an antenna on the top. So, I mean, they're working on kind of a lot of the conduit that you see going on Greenfield,
Can you hear me now?
Mr.
Alderman Vitale.
Okay, fine, that's my turn. But anyway, vehicle, really, I do remember when all the, internet or cellular company, they start coming to West Dallas, really, and ask the city to start, they could install those antenna on top of the water tower. To me, it really have been, in some way, really like a free money. I mean, we're not really putting any money forward, really. To me, it's been a hell of a good program. Actually benefits, like I say, I don't care where the money is going to, but still it benefits the entirety of the city, really. I mean, I think it's a good thing, really. It's extra money.
Yep.
Alderman Stefanski.
So my question is, if they're gonna put these 75 light poles in, do they pay anything to the city for the use of having them out
Yes.
there?
Yes, I don't have the numbers. They pay an initial $1,000 installation, and then there is an annual rental fee, and it's escaping me. But I mean, they're paying hundreds of dollars per pole
Okay.
per year, I believe.
And
I'll
then-
have to,
And then where does that money that we get used for?
goes back into the general fund for anything.
Okay.
Goes, yeah.
So it could be for tax relief.
It is already. I mean, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And that was my point about the bike trails in Brookfield. That's what they're using their funding for, or their income, rather. So, okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We go down to item 10, resolution to adopt the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin Water Utility Rate and Rule Order Number 6360-WR-110. And Pete Daniels is here, I believe, to explain the rate increase.
So what we
That's
have
right,
is the
Dave
water,
is.
our water utility, head by Michael Brofka. They put a request in for a rate increase for our water utility. The last rate increase that we've had was back in 2017. To seek authorization to increase the revenue from our patrons. Again, this revenue would go to pay for water meters, pipes, installation, materials, engineering, Pete staff for contractors to install underground work, so on and so forth. We put this request in, the Public Service Commission reviewed all the records of our water utility. Special thank you to our finance department as well. In doing so, they did authorize us that we could have approximately a 3.89 increase in doing that, and it would have approximately about $318,000 increase in revenue for us that can be used for supplemental for the materials and meters and other items that we'll need or supplies.
So,
What will this?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you're,
What will this mean for the average citizen? So for average residential with a 5/8 hookup with a meter, the bills at the old rate would be approximately $59.72 on a quarterly basis. Somewhat comparable to that, in the same living unit would increase approximately $3 to $62.28. So approximately a 4% increase.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Ranky.
do you foresee, I mean, with this increase, if we accept it, do you foresee them, the city ever changing to a monthly, instead of every 3 months?
That's a good question. I don't, because regarding the amount of area that we have to cover for our reading, again, it's getting easier and easier for our utility reading for the meters. It's kind of a read-only where it's computerized now with sensors, but we still have certain properties that we have manual read meters. And doing that just for the billing cycle, it's in a large area throughout the city. It's just kind of convenience for a quarterly basis at this time.
Well, some of the bills could be quite high, and I guess I'm thinking of the average household, their ability to pay this money when the rates are going to be quite extensive.
And this is one aspect of the fees that would be billed quarterly. You'd have the sanitary storm, that's also included in that.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Stefanski.
So this is gonna be $3 more every quarter per household?
approximately, yep.
And do you foresee that there's a real need for this increase?
Yes, because it's, as we do projects, the cost is increasing for materials, supplies, meters. You know, we have to purchase a variety of different type of meters. The costs are not staying the same, they're increasing. So in order to stay with the competitive pricing that we're attempting to obtain, we have to have the revenue in order to update our infrastructure with our water utility as well.
But if we've already put in meters that can be read outside of the house without having to go in, where are we coming up with more supplies to do this?
So every time that there's a new road construction, street reconstruction, there's added cost to that with the underground structure, the meter, but also there's a cycle that's required by the Public Service Commission that the meters have to be changed out once every 20 years. So there's a cycle that you just, a household, gets a 5/8 meter, and that's good for their time of 40 to 50 years. Per PSC, the Public Service Commission, there are rules and guidelines that we have to adhere to for change-outs and different type of equipment for each residential business property as well.
Reason I'm asking these questions is because we saw tonight that there's an increase in property taxes, and now we got an increase in this. We got people that live here that can't keep affording these increases of their property taxes and fees, so that's kind of why I'm asking these questions of you, just so you know.
Yep.
And Mr.
That's
Chair.
a good question.
Mr.
Sorry.
Chair, if I may, just to kind of echo what you're saying, we're also looking at, we also now have increases at the public yards that we're going to be looking at. So all the way around, we're looking at, those dollars add up, even if it's $3. And you were saying 59.20 was the first number you gave, that $3 would be added to that. Now, as a homeowner here in West Dallas, my average water bill is $250 a month. So I'm looking at a lot more than just that $3 mark. That would equate to, $13 to $15 more, which again adds up. So if we're looking at city services, and we're going to have to answer these questions, what are we getting for the tax dollars? And trying to balance that out and understanding if we're adding $50 in taxes here, that's not even the school district coming in yet.
Right.
And then we have public works, we have water, everything is just going up. And I understand, but on the heels of COVID, this is a very difficult pill to swallow and justification for it. I guess kind of echoing what Alderman Stefanski said, what are the numbers coming out on repairs and replacements? That would be maybe a little bit more helpful for me to see that spreadsheet or understand the numbers better.
And there is an electronic attachment that's submitted to the PSC on behalf of the city, so that's something that we could forward
Okay.
to you.
Is this something that we can put aside and revisit at our next meeting? So we can maybe get a bit more information, or where are you all on this?
We would strongly recommend taking action for that, because the PSC did recommend, and with the three.
So it's due Friday, huh?
Excuse me?
It's due Friday?
Yeah.
Mr.
Dave,
Chair,
would it be fair to say the price of water's not going up? It's the price of delivering it to your house is going up. It's all of the things we don't see. It's, a gallon of water probably costs the same now as it did 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's not only the whole infrastructure throughout the city, but when Pete has reconstruction projects, you know, this is money that's going to the reconstruction of a street that's replacing that water utility, that
Right.
piping system.
And
I think last year was fairly low, maybe 20 to 40 main breaks, but one year we had over 120. And that was about 4 years ago when we had severe cold weather, so.
I would say we're not keeping up. You know, the city was mostly built in the twenties.
Right, it's,
So we got a 100-year-old water main under a lot of streets. I guess we're about to find out how long that lasts, but nobody recommends it go beyond 100 years, so. I think the increase in water main breaks is kind of a wake-up call if we're sitting on top of a coming catastrophe if we don't, huge numbers of water main breaks because they're 100 years old. So we gotta keep up. I don't think we should pause. Maybe 20 years ago, we should have kept up the pace as we knew this day was coming, but, you know, we got lax. You know, I don't think we can take off the gas bill now because these water mains are getting very old.
Mr. Chair, if I may, kind of to echo that too, is that why we're seeing, like, I know it was only 20 compared to 120, but we're seeing sinkholes and other things that the streets are literally just can cave. And that is due to the age, I would assume, and the fact that we need to update this. Okay, all right, that makes much more sense.
The sanitary sewer relaying contract, which $800,000. Ideally, you wouldn't have to spend any of that because, you know, the reason we're doing that contract is because they're collapsing,
Right.
because they're 100 years old. And we don't have enough money to pave all those streets fast enough to keep up with collapsing sewers, so I'm a little worried. We're gonna start seeing, you know, our underground is gonna start falling apart before we get there.
Well, thank you very much for the clarification. That helps.
Mr. Chair.
when we do receive a call.
I heard him first. Alderman
Well, you
Valley,
heard me
Alderman
before,
Stefanski.
but they didn't pay attention.
Go ahead, he can go. I'll wait.
That's okay, go ahead. I'll let you go first.
Okay, so just a comparison here. So we've got the water mains, and the stuff that the water mains are made out of is what?
It's cast, ductile iron,
Okay,
cast iron.
now, I'm gonna use an example of our laterals that come out of our house. Some of those are clay pipes, correct? On the older homes?
For water, it's lead. The older ones would be lead for water.
Okay,
Then the clay would be the sanitary, you know, the wind flush and talk to.
okay. Today's technology, we're going to different piping other than lead and clay or whatever. Isn't the cost of the materials for that stuff cheaper now because of the technology that we have? That the water mains are less expensive as far as the pipes to replace them are?
So you're saying the hookups, the lateral between the,
I was using that as an example of the costs. I'm just looking at a comparison of the cost for materials for what this would go for.
The labor nowadays compared to labor when it was first put in
Uh-huh.
1920 is astronomically higher. We're making a much higher wage.
So it's more the cost of the work being done, not the materials that we're doing it to do it.
well, I think it's both. I mean, if you
Well, because
check out a project, you're paying higher monies for the materials each and every year for the cost.
what I'm
Increasing.
what I'm getting at is we're going to look at increasing this. Okay, now where can we go back in the city budget to cut some costs out to cover this? That's kind of what I'm thinking in my head here.
Yep. And also in the water utility, we have lowered the number of staff as well. So 2 positions were also lowered or reduced.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Yeah, I would like to say that back, I believe, I don't know if it was 2016 or 2017, I think Milwaukee Water Utility, they did request an increase, right? I believe, so what I'm saying, we still pay Milwaukee, just as well, really, on the water forage into Dallas, it's not free. And I understand, the cost is rising, but anyway you look at it, if you don't pay that the additional amount of, say, $3 on your bill quarterly, what really is gonna happen, the cost is still is gonna be there. So where we gonna get the money? So then we have to probably go through the general funds, through the budget, you know? I mean, you know, this way, I think I know it's, you know, for many people, it's a lot of, you know, you could call it a lot of cash. But the fact is, the amount of water we're getting, 24 hours a day, and the services, you know, I know many places, you know, they don't have such quality of life by getting good water, you know, and the service. So really, I mean, I don't like the increase either, but that's something sometimes we have to kind of accept the fact that's what it is. It's cost, you know. Everything is more money, you know, really. And so probably 10 years down the road, where are we going, you know? I mean, if the costs keep rising, you know, people will be able to afford to pay property taxes or anything. So I believe the city tried to, in many ways, to minimize, I think, the cost of operations, you know? I mean, they tried their best, but still the cost is there to survive, you know, if you want the service, you know? I mean, that's the bottom line, and really, I mean, I said earlier, I don't like it, but that's something that, how can we look the other way, you know, when we have many projects that will come up in the future just as well, you know? I mean, that's what I base on it, really.
Mr. Chair.
I'm going to
Thank
let
you,
Dave go.
I just have a
first.
follow-up question for him, so.
Go ahead, Dave.
Mr. Chair, and Alderperson Vitale brought up a good point. We are looking at the water utility with Michael Brofka, Karen Rittenhouse, who's our customer service supervisor, looking at the Milwaukee Water Works. Like you mentioned, we do purchase the water that's coming into the city of West Dallas. I believe we're a customer since the early 1900s for that supply of their water. We are looking at the different type of services, the facilities that we are currently using, our water pumping station as well. So we're looking at different type of connections that maybe we could supplement through the Milwaukee Water Works, where we may or potentially reduce part or maybe 3/4 of that pumping station. So therefore would lower a lot of the costs for that reservoir. Maybe there's not a need. We're having a consultant look at that. But again, Milwaukee Water Works is currently busy with another project right now in Waukesha. But so they kind of put us on the side burner at this time. So when that time comes, there are potential efficiencies that we hopefully can identify and implement with Milwaukee Water Works.
Alderman
So
Svanson.
my question is, the agreement here that we got with this $3 increase, would that be just for this year, or is it like a term?
For a term, yep, until
So how many years
It's-
are we looking at?
Until the
we
next
want to do, the next, usually we average every 3 years, 4 years, we request a rate case
Okay.
through the Public Service Commission.
So basically, we'll have this rate increase now for 3 to 4 years from now, and it won't go
Correct.
up any time during that.
Our last one, I believe it was 2017,
Okay.
so,
Thank you.
yep.
Okay, is there any further discussion?
I'll move for approval.
It's been
Second.
moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we skip to our regular agenda here, and we will go to item 21, a resolution constituting a relocation order pursuant to section 62.22 and 32.05, parentheses 1 of the Wisconsin statutes for the construction of water transmission and distribution facilities and similar water improvements at Chris Hansen. Who
Move
wants
to
to?
approve.
Second,
You want to hear about it, or?
I read about it.
Okay. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, then we go to item 22, resolution accepting the work of Visu Sewer, Inc. in various locations and authorizing settlement of said contract in the amount of $15,520.32. Is, anybody want to talk about this, or we can just?
I'd make a motion to approve.
Since Tracy
Okay.
I'll second that.
Motion to approve, second by Alderman Vitale. Now, is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Item 23, resolution to grant a privilege for encroachment major to new owner Dominic A. for property located at 7200 West Greenfield Avenue, tax key number 440-0350-000. Is there any discussion?
I mean, I don't believe it.
Aye.
It's right there. I move for approval.
Okay, that's what it is?
I
Okay.
would like to know about this. What is
Yeah.
the encroachment?
It's that bay window that sticks out over the sidewalk.
Okay.
Actually, a lot of the brick is just a little bit over the sidewalk, over the lot line.
Okay.
So anything that's hanging over the pedestrians, we should have some sort of encroachment.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you move to approve.
So, say said brick falls off and hits someone, who,
They have insurance, that's part of
Okay.
the process, is that
Okay.
the insurance office actually gets them to make sure that they have insurance, and if they don't, then, they hear about it, so.
It's not gonna crush anybody like O'Donnell Park had happen, right?
oh, God, I just don't even, oh, man.
I will second.
Okay,
Yeah, I did. Move for approval.
motion and a second.
Motion second.
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah,
Motion
I-
carries. I will turn it over to Alderman Vitale for the,
Well,
I
I was
make a
gonna say, in
motion to
case you
adjourn
go on
Public
Greenfield
Works.
Avenue.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
In
Aye.
case you go on Greenfield Avenue, put a hat on, you know, in case
Okay.
go
Okay,
through
go
the
ahead, Alderman.
building.
Alderman Vitale.
Okay, let's move forward with the License and Health Committee, so everybody's present. So we don't need to have a roll call, but new
David.
and previous matters, ordinance to continue expedite temporary extension of premises until March 8th. I believe we're all aware of that, right? I mean,
Yep.
would be the- so we need an emotion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Well, and I have a question regarding this. Obviously, these are the expedited permits, but we had also looked at the fact, March 8th, that we were looking at COVID obviously being more impactful. Should we take a look at and visit this in March again and just do it that way? Or should we extend it like we did, like for Pauley on the tent issue and go to
I think we
Memorial
should
Day?
just let it go until March, really, from my,
Mr. Chair,
yeah, go ahead.
this is the same thing similar to what we did with Polly's, correct?
It is similar, but it is not quite the same. So there are two ways to get your licensed premises outside your building. One is to do what Polly did. He had an inside licensure, and he wanted to have a extension under the old rule, we'll call
Okay.
it. He's the only one who did that. This is a second rule that was created solely because of COVID, that allowed people to basically put in an application with very limited information and a very small fee. And then as long as they followed the same rules as everyone else, they're kind of basic rules, 10 o'clock, close it, no music, stuff like that. As long as you follow those rules, then you can get it really quickly, and it's approved meeting to meeting.
Okay.
So this would extend the second one. Polly's is totally unimpacted and outside of this circumstance. This affects the 15 or so bars that took advantage of that expedited process. They would be done as of the 18th of November if you don't do anything. They couldn't do anything, they would have to all bring everything back in. If you extend this out, then they do the same thing they have been doing all summer by using the application they submitted whenever they did, and that will constantly be brought before the committee for consideration to be approved or not. And then at any point in time, if someone is having issues, you can just simply pull that one and then not approve it, and then there's no hearing or anything because they never had a approval like what Polly has all the way out until whatever date that was.
June.
June 1st.
So
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
I have concerns going into the winter months, because what I'm seeing is kind of what we discussed last time, is trying to put a framework together where people aren't too confused what a temporary extension is versus we're putting up full-blown tents. and adding. And I have noticed that there is an additional business that did that and didn't come before License and Health to do that. And I think we need to look at that, for one, with this, because I think the summer months are very different. Extension of use, you can put your chairs out on the sidewalk. Winter months, you're going to have to put something together, whether it's fire pits, it's tents, it's something to eat
Greenhouse.
people. I'm not gonna go out to eat and sit outside on the sidewalk like I would in the summertime. So I'm really confused. I think we need a little bit more direction with this, that it changes over, being it's going into the winter months and into spring. And also, I think we need to visit the fact that if we're going to be doing this here forward, even beyond COVID, that we put a fee scale together.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Alderman,
So, as Alderwoman Grisham was talking about, there's a restaurant that puts something up, and I never heard anything about it until I saw it on a Facebook post. I thought they still had to come to us to put something up or to request something, but it falls under this similar category. Am I wrong on that?
So I assume it's a temporary structure of some sort, like a tent that.
It was a
when
greenhouse that they put up.
In a parking lot?
Yes.
So what they should be doing is following the proper procedure with bins and the fire department, just like you would if you would build a new house. You know, the council doesn't hear about every building permit or every structure permit. So nothing that I'm aware of, I haven't looked at the logs in a little while, but nothing I'm aware of prohibits them from building a tent in their temporary extended premises. So what I was going to say, when you commented, Alderman Grisham, if you wanted to add a provision in the ordinance that says you cannot have an exterior structure, or you can under these terms, or however you wanted to word that, that's something you could impose at the next council meeting, and then everyone who's under this program would have to follow it. So if you have more specifics on that, I'm happy to.
Yeah, and I think, and I don't know what fellow committee members think, I think it would be beneficial to put together something that would be a directive for the fall and winter months, or going into the winter months, that there is a difference, because my concerns are exactly that. Tents are being put up, doors are being open, connected to businesses, you know, liquor licenses extend out to that area. Fire is not being, called in, that I'm aware of, inspecting these businesses, and that just goes against our safety of the city. So I would think that I'm not up to approve the expedited temporary extensions right now unless we have a proper framework for the winter months.
Mr. Chair?
yes,
Just so everyone's aware, the impact is if it would not be approved tonight, there would be a short, and if everyone would come back on the 17th and the council wished to approve it, there would be a slight delay because it would have to technically be published. So it would be probably a 2-day, the 19th and 20th, no one would be able to open under these extensions because there would be a lapse between when it would become effective and the last date on which it would expire. So just
Mr. Chair?
How,
yes.
Could we put an exemption in there for ones that have already been part of our program that we've been doing? So that they could still open up for those couple days while it gets published?
well, what you could do is approve this for a shorter time than March 8th.
that's what I was gonna suggest as we go 1 month.
You could do something like that if you wanted to, or, well, yeah, it's you do that and then bring something back that's a whole package, or you can approve this as is and still bring forward something, but you risk the possibility that the second thing doesn't pass, but the first thing does, and I don't know if you're interested in that, but the easiest thing to do probably be to pass this one for a month or so, then bring back another amendment to extend it to the time with whatever conditions you're looking to do.
Okay.
And just to be clear, building a temporary structure still requires review. It's just that people might not be asking for that review from either bins or the fire department. So especially if they're using heating elements, especially if they're building in walls that might close the space off and they're not properly marking exits, things like that. So that's all in the books right now. So one way to enforce it would be to essentially contact the business and say, we're not going to be able to approve your next extension unless you get this checked by the fire department right now. And then you wouldn't have to change anything in the law, but it'd effectively be using the law to get it done. Or you could put in something more specific right into the law that says you need to have this. It's your call.
So with this ordinance, can we go ahead and put an amendment,
If-
you know, before, like I say, to shortening the dates of March, you know, March 8th?
Yes.
So I believe we could do that with amendment, you know?
Yes.
So maybe we can hold it, you know, I mean, maybe for,
Well, was there a motion to
We can-
approve this one yet?
Well, I would
think we have
make
a
a motion to approve with
To
that
approve it,
amendment
yes.
for 1 month forward, so we
Yeah.
have the proper notification, public notification necessary, and come back with framework with this in that month's time.
yeah, then we
So
can
that would be
adding-
what, December?
adding the amendments
Our
on it,
first
you know?
meeting in December?
Sure.
Would you
Give
mind,
us our 30-day window, or no?
would you mind going to December 7th?
That's fine.
That's fine.
Because that way it'll cover the 17th and the 1st, and then publication the 4th, effective 7th, so you get 2 meetings to go through everything.
Yep.
December 7th,
So
then?
on the emotion, Alderman,
So we don't, with what we have on the table right now, we don't have that 2-day delay then?
Right.
Correct.
We're not extending it to March. We're.
Right, no, we're not going that far out, but again, we're not
This avoids the.
closing, not closing, but
This avoids,
handcuffing them for 2
Yeah,
days.
any interruption of their business.
Right.
correct.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So I made the motion with the amendments.
I will second that.
Thank you.
all in favor of the emotion of the,
Aye.
with the amendment?
Aye.
Oppose? The ayes have it. So we can just move on with item 31, 2021 Class C wine license application of Milwaukee Banquet LLC, St. Winters Cinch, agent DBA Winnie's Kitchen. I hope it's not Vinnie, you know, it says Winnie. I mean, I hope it's,
Mr. Chair,
go ahead.
the applicant requested these be held to the 17th, both 31 and 32,
Okay.
if the committee's willing to do so.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Any questions? Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, if I may, is this the gas station?
Yes, it's a restaurant attached to a gas station, I guess.
Didn't we just, what did we just do with them a year and a half ago?
We denied them
We denied it.
liquor license.
Was this that particular,
Is this the same
Location?
place?
Because this is the one, the
I have
gas
to-
station has the restaurant sticking out towards, there were 2 different buildings there, there were 2 different,
there's
everything.
entrance
Yeah.
Which
and
one
entrance
is
to it.
this? That's my question.
I don't know if it's the same address that you considered on a prior date. I'd have to search the records on that one, but yes, I understand that this is a restaurant that is adjacent to a gas
Could you
station.
put your mask down, please?
Okay, yeah, because we approved the gas station, because right after that, the next guy came like 2 weeks later.
We didn't, yeah, we didn't approve that gas
We
station.
didn't
No, we didn't
gas
approve it.
station.
Was not approved.
That was
Mr.
not approved.
Chair?
Yes,
Um,
Alderman Christian.
I checked, this is District 3.
And then we had to give, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. This is District 3, and it's a BP gas station that I'm
Yes.
aware of. The owners do have a separate kitchen, restaurant area. I was reviewing this myself because it would go against what I said as far as, and my votes have been for gas stations to have their
Right.
licenses. However, this is an actual restaurant run adjacent to it. So I would consider it a separate entity to the gas station. So you're not going through the gas station and, you know, getting at the counter per se. You have to go and sit down at the restaurant. But I did have questions regarding that because now they're applying for the Class B and they also want the wine license. My question was, do they have a liquor license in the gas station? So they do not.
No, I don't think they do.
And what would be the functions of their business? How late can they sell their beverages, for example? Because it kind of goes between that gas station. I'm a little iffy about it. And how busy is the restaurant?
Mr. Chair?
Oh, yes.
So these are both service for on-premises consumption, meaning they'd serve to people drinking on the spot. It'd be for wine and beer, no liquor other than wine. And they could sell in closed containers to go, because that license does allow you to do that, but only until 9 p.m. And only beer. The wine would have to be corked So they could serve you a bottle of wine, they could cork it, and you could carry out the bottle of wine.
That would be more concerning to me that you could take beverages to go. Because that's kind of close to what you're saying if you go to a gas station and you're just buying beer to go.
It would be generally a little different, because Class Bs will generally charge you the price that they have to pay. So your six-pack that would cost you $6 might cost you something like $18 on a Class B. So it
Okay,
would be unusual for people to carry out alcohol, but it's not, it would be legal for them to do so
okay.
by their licensure.
Yes, Alderman,
So
Step-
is this kitchen, restaurant thing that they're doing, is it attached to the BP, or is it a separate building?
It's attached.
I think they share a wall, but I don't know if it's a party wall where it's literally they are the same building, or if it's two buildings that are butted up against each other like you see up and down Greenfield here. I don't know which one it is.
So my concern is if it's a building that shares an inside door, that you go from the gas station into this restaurant, I got a problem with it. If it's a separate building, and there's a separate entrance, that's a different story.
From my understanding, if I may interject, there are doors facing Greenfield Avenue that you can enter, but you can go in. There is a door from the gas station area to go in.
Mr. Chair,
yes, Alderman Ranky,
could we put this on hold so we could look at the facility?
that,
We'll hold
that's,
it till the 17th.
Yeah.
Okay,
if that's your wishes, yeah, we can
And,
put it on hold.
Mr. Chair, one more thing. Could we have someone from the clerk's office get to us? Maybe I'm starting to lose it, but I thought we gave this guy not a liquor license, but a beer-only license.
no,
No.
I don't think we give
Okay,
them
then I'm
a
I
wrong.
don't believe
license.
so.
Okay.
think that
I
was
don't think
part
we
of
give
the-
him
Someone
anything,
from the
was
clerk's
denied it.
office Get to us and check on that.
Yeah.
Yes, was denied it because,
So it'll be on hold till the 17th? Make a,
Okay,
do we make a motion to put on hold?
on hold,
You don't,
no, that's fine, we just, we put on hold. Kale, I have a questions in regard, I wonder if there's any ruling based on the fact of the entryway between the gas stations and the restaurant. If we can, we'll request to keep that, lock the door at any time. I mean, I wonder if it's something, some clause that we can use, you know, to,
I see no problem with you saying that that has to be an emergency exit, so an alarmed emergency exit, as long as the two structures each have other exits.
yeah, as long as they have the other exit, then I wonder if we can force them to say, well, you gotta keep that door locked.
That would be a good question for the applicant when he's here to see if that would be
I
possible.
think that's what
from-
we should do, we
from
should
a
have them
building
come
code
in.
standpoint.
You know, because I think it's very important, you know, like Alderman Stefanski said. You know, people can just go from the gas station, can get a bottle or whatever, just walk out,
Right.
you know, from the gas stations, you know, or vice versa, you know? So I think that's one thing I think we should be, look into it, so I think it'd be a good idea, you know, to,
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I think just as a business owner, I think that would be an issue to lock that door or request that, just due to fire safety and codes. But as Kale said, I think maybe if it is an emergency exit, they'd have to
then I think
cross-check
we
that
can have
with-
a
with fire.
reason to force them to do it, if there is additional doors between the gas station and the restaurant, you know?
Okay. Well, I'm going to take a moment to stop in there, you know, in between this meeting and the next to kind of just
gonna check
check
I
it out
think
myself.
that's a good idea. I mean, you'd be the, I don't want to say it.
No field trips for us?
Okay, we put item 32 on hold. So we move on with item 33, 2022, about the operator license, bartender sales, and clerk applications. I believe we did, go ahead.
If I know somebody that's on this list, do I need to recuse myself from the vote?
No, as long as you feel you can be, you can still serve your role as an alder person fairly and it doesn't affect your judgment from your personal relationship, then it's fine.
Okay, thanks.
move to approve.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Your turn.
Call the advisory committee
Wasn't that bad.
order. I'll let the minutes reflect that all members are present. Number 34, notification by Mayor Devine of appointments and reappointments to the Downtown West
Move for approval.
Business Improvement District. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All person